Death be not but for an instant, this pain no longer persistent. Trial of faith, for instance, let us be grounded in a faith that finally is grounded in dust. We're made from the dust, the finest of dust. If you must know, it is the blood of titans and men that died back then because of their treatment of widows and orphans. The realm of the initial spiritual plan is still no surprise to the Most High. So this is all going according to plan, is what I'm trying to, is my main takeaway from the monologue there this morning. What I normally like to do and what I'll probably do now is greet my friend Marcella. Hola. And Zach Macanudo. What are you doing, man? I know it's all probably confusing, but we're going to try to straighten some of that out today. What was I going to do? Show the thing. Good job of not showing the thing. Okay, fair use disclaimer. We'll be looking at some other videos. Honest and open look at what in tarnation is going on. These spoiler alerts, people say they don't like them, but I know you do. Spoiler alert. That's a satellite hanging from a balloon on the Google Loon. We're going back in time to 2014 when they said, yeah, we got the Google Loon. I just thought that was, I wonder what they could do with a strobe light show in there to make you think that there's a plasma event. I don't know. There's a Google Loon in the daytime. Did you see that thumbnail? That was a Google Loon. These high-powered transmitters disappeared without a trace. So they used to have these all over. Now they don't, because they were using triangulation. They had to figure out where you're going. It was, the precursor to the GPS. And then everything's going fine and your house gets hit by a tornado. You just got your hair dyed blue, your fingernails painted black, and you're ready to tell the world, attack. And then your house gets hit by a tornado, and and you find out most people don't really care. These guys, right, turned out eerily accurate. 2 years later, along with all his family, they're dead. Somehow the hemophilia, he's ruling Russia, but his wife is really ruling Russia. She's worried about her son. He's got that hemophilia. This guy, does this not look like a movie thing? I mean, really, that's not mascara. That's not makeup. This is really a picture of Rasputin. Come on. This was their world. This was those people. Those are those girls supposedly marching along going, hey, I had to show up today like Sasha Obama or the other ones, like, yeah, we're a prop. This was their world too. It looked better when I was screenshotting it. There they are. There's Rasputin, Hey, everybody, take off your clothes. I mean, that's what he was into. We got spiritual discussions to have here. He healed them all. This boy had hemophilia. There he is, supposed to be a real person, 1907. How long ago did you think it was? Okay. He's in the palace with the children. We got a lot of tabs to go over. It's going to end up basically being, this world is wrong. They're embracing homosexuality, abortion. Whoa, I just got to look at this girl, the one with the mustache. Royalties. Let's go meet Rasputin. Okay. Looking for an enlightenment. They all were looking for an enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment. That means something to somebody. Gamson, whoever that is, looking at the music mobilization for only a second, he suggests that an injustice frame will be more effective at recruiting and mobilizing if the target is a concrete actor, preferably a person or corporation presented as malicious, selfish, and greedy, like they do the church. There's another picture of one of those strange dates in the middle of nowhere. Did we say, ancient? Yeah, we'll be looking at a lot. Power hammers. I couldn't read this that well. However, it appears that at least a handful of mafia figures have played a hand in the industry. For instance, Meyer Lansky, that guy who got Lucky Luciano out of jail and freed so the mafia could help our government win World War II. He's known as the mob's accountant. He was one of the most successful mafiosos in the history of the world. He had many investments in jukebox heroes, and they controlled the Wurlitzer jukebox, and they decided what was going to be a hit. They liked old Blue Eyes. You want to be a part of it. I just saw a movie clip of a plane flying at the Twin Towers, so I took a picture of it. I recognize Ray-Ban, McDonald's, some other stuff here. I screenshotted this because what is woke? The Great Transformation is a book, and he writes that once a society surrenders to the dictates of the market, once its mafia economy becomes a mafia state, once it succumbs to what he calls the ravages of this satanic mill, it inevitably leads to the demolition of society. The mafia state cannot be reformed. We must organize to break our chains one by one, to use the power of the strike to cripple the state machinery. They're going to go full Luddite intellectually on the government. I wonder if we're going to get to this today. But, the tunnels have always been important to me, and I know they're important to you. That's a tug. Yeah, they dug this out. They say they dug it out in 1985, but Nero started it, or Napoleon tried to finish it. They got it going now. That's kind of a cool picture. Got a tugboat pulling it through. That's his job. Anybody that goes through that 6-mile stretch there, that tug pulls them, because it gets pretty tight in a couple of spots. How about that shuffleboard? That's fun. You ever do that? It actually is fun. I like it. So just another thing, it's tight. They cut this by hand, they said. They dug it out by hand back in the day. 1985, they finished it, supposedly. That's an interesting wall. Just probably fell off because it's the body part of a Titan. World's deepest canal. Pull it, little tug. Mitt Romney. So this is yesterday, corporations and stuff, huh? Did you like yesterday's video? I hope you did. Quit picking on the psyops and the Russians. Too bad the rain is coming to an end. Well, they might consider it a good thing. We got to go. This has nothing to do with the story, but I've always heard that Ulysses S. Grant was a bad guy. I think he was. I'm going to pick a spot.
Prop up those
Can't
state
hear it.
governments.
I know.
They would,
Can't hear it.
which they were doing. There were federal troops camped in the state house in Columbia, South Carolina, to keep a Republican governor who was in the process of being overthrown by a white Democratic coup. You think there've never been coups in America? It was a coup. And there were a couple in the South, another one in Mississippi, but we won't during the same period. So rather, the Republicans.
Wow. That was not a good idea, but it is a good pause for me to say, like, when we do these things, when we talk about the KKK, because I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to talk about, I don't like Roman Catholic theology either, but I don't want to be equated with the KKK and their racism and everything else. But the simple fact is the KKK didn't like Roman theology, and neither do I. I don't even like it a little bit. So there's something that's going on with that we'll have to, walk gingerly about. But that was just something I, shouldn't have watched. Hey, I decided to join the paper here. We'll get to that in a little bit. Power hammers. You have to break up the ore to get the gold. What is it? Interesting.
Right. Oh, that was a mistake. Okay.
How do they do that?
Man, really. But at least I found this spoon. So swings and roundabouts. Sponsor. Yes, it's sponsor time, which was why I leapt in.
Wow, and he sponsors for a long time.
Purpose rubbish.
Three pieces of steel, to start off a side. The middle piece is what they used to use is shear steel. They called it shear steel, which was like a slightly.
Our world leaves these, water-powered hammer forges everywhere, especially Sheffield, England. 160, all in one town doing this, making
and putting it back on this side
steel that was shipped around the world. It was
they were going to make. It's come to a stop now.
Somewhat efficient. I don't know why. I really liked the idea. The guy that ran this machine had a very interesting chair he sat in.
Now, you can control the speed from here.
Hopefully I'll stumble on it because I know you'll want to see it. Still works. You can make steel here today.
1,000-degree furnace on the right and the 900-degree one on the left. A drawer-like hopper for coke. At the end of the main drive shaft is this eccentric cam which works a bar above it up and down, which works a gigantic pair of cast iron snippers. Here you see the powerful jaws. The bottom hard steel blade is in place with a wooden wedge next to it, but the upper blade is missing. In one turn of the drive shaft, this would snip through a thick billet of steel. The hammer operator...
Look at that chair. How is that for getting it done?
24 scythe blades a
Boom,
day.
boom, making steel back in the day. What a production, and we take it for granted so much. Jump ahead a little bit.
But it was a fairly complete factory. It made its own crucible steel on site.
That's where I got that picture I showed you in the thumbnail.
For about 4 hours before the puller out, his legs wrapped in water-soaked cloth, would extract them, and the teamer would pour out the metal into ingots.
One thing I'm going to guess about the Victorian workers who were down here is that they weren't terribly tall. Absolutely enormous mallets, and that would shoot the...
They had to do it. Look at stone roofs.
They also made their own patented riveted scythes, which were lighter and cheaper.
What's amazing is that from the outside, they just remodeled a farm. It was there, and So this was one of the 160 places in Sheffield, England, or Manchester. They made steel. Men, I guess. I was really into it.
Graded and repaired so many times since then that little from that year remains. Abbeydale was unusual in that it was a fairly complete factory.
Oh, I want to
that
just
made
show
its
the
own
size
physical
of some
steel.
of them. Abbeydale. Go. Come on. Load
It's
up.
getting cheaper, but it's still pretty early, somewhere around 1811.
1811. That Bessemer steel that was invented in Sheffield, England is only being like, look, we can make Coke. We can get it hotter. And the next year, they're stamping out these things. We know it's a lie and it's fake.
It was brought to the museum for display and isn't where it was used. It's impressively immense. On one side, you see a gargantuan hammer that was
1811.
lifted up by its head and dropped. On the
People
other,
still
another
thought
huge
homosexuality
hammer
was
at the
a
end of its
sin,
shaft pushed
unlike,
down by the same cam, which lifts the head to the same
Christians
effect.
today.
Here is the
47%,
big
I
wheel,
guess.
big for better leverage, which once
I just
drove
want you
the
to be
whole thing.
fascinated
It
by the
looks as though there was
past. And,
once a second set of
you
hammers
know,
there.
we
The
find
teeth on
these
these
things
cam
and
wheels,
they
held
supply
in
to
with pins
history.
pushed in from the sides,
Probably their
were
countries
removable,
and,
so you could
you know,
adjust the
get into
frequency
the
of hammer
whole
blows.
George
They
Washington
were also
never
of
cut down
different
a tree
sizes,
with
which
their
changed the height the
hero.
hammer fell
The
from.
person
The
they're
pivot points for
propping
the
up.
hammers were also
They got a
very
reason to
adjustable,
explain
as you
this, but
see
they
here.
don't have to explain
Even in the days
everything
of steel,
because
with the
tonight there's
long
a
hammer
football
haft,
game
it seems
or
that
a
wood was
singing
best.
talent
It
show
had a bit of
or a
flex.
cooking talent show. And then
Hello, weapon
this
fans.
underdog
Look,
has a
a
chance to
Turkish
show those
Kalkish for
snobs that
disemboweling
he's
light
as good
infantry.
as they
Oh,
are.
no, it's for
You
turnips.
know, I got to pull for
Sheffield
him.
is
I
the
got to
town that
call in.
made and sold
Text
so many
charges
knives and
approved.
forks that they had to invent new kinds of cutlery just so that they could sell everyone another set. And so was born the cake fork and the fish knife and many more. The
Yeah,
mark
we've seen those knives. You've been confused by it. Enhancing clay with alchemy. Well, 26 minutes ago, Stellium 7 probably put out something where he's trying to take over biogeology and turn it into tree things. I liked the one where he walked into a hollow tree and a root. That was amazing.
So then I started to theorize, well, if there's a eye socket this side of the mountain,
Once again, he never theorized anything. RJ's the witness. He called me. I explained it to him with two witnesses listening. We still have the phone records and screenshot. Stellium 7 did nothing except me explain to him how this is possible. And he did go with, you know, that it was mammals, where I say titans, and he went with that for a while. But now he's all on his own, like, look at me, I'm not just I'm the Prince Hacker.
is so well preserved, maybe there's an ear, because there's this discoloration where everywhere the limestone is broken away, it's red underneath, which matches up with the limestone and blood and the composition of blood. And it's shaped like a quarter moon, just like if you were to rip your ear off, like if this were to be removed, this section here, what shape would that be? It would be that
Semi-helix.
shape, right?
Yeah.
And it's in the exact location that the elephant ear would be located, behind the eye. And so I started to look to see, well, what if there was a cave up there? And so I hiked up into here. But before I hiked up,
I called Alan Paco and asked him, you know, you really think it's true if I've wasted my time? And I said, no, go for it, man. You'll see the hollow parts. It's all the body parts. The mountains are reserved in judgments. The Titans were told they will die like men because they favored evil people instead of the widows and the orphans. I kind of want to, you know, he's just yabbering on here about his stolen glory, but I want to see you walk into this tree thing, man. That's just crazy.
so you can see this one was hacked by a machete or something, and it's just squirting water. It looks like a fire hydrant.
Yeah, that's how you could irrigate an area or something, you know, or you needed water.
Yeah. I mean,
Nature provides.
I
Right?
wonder how the tree would ever plug that. How do you repair something that's just got a constant flow like that?
And is
I
this
don't
how we
think
have
that's
swamps?
the one.
Interesting thought. Never.
There he goes.
So this is a guy going into the root of a
Oh,
tree.
yes, I've seen this shit, dude. This is
He's a
amazing.
cusser.
So take a look at everything around him, especially as
Watch
he gets
this when
into
he
the
gets in
central
the
portion
tree.
here.
He
I'll
looks like a
pause it.
giant
It's
in a cave that you would just walk through.
amazing. It's not a body part,
But
but
he looks
Oh,
like a
that-
still
giant in it.
cool.
You know?
Yeah, and
Look,
when
I'm inside a hollow tree. I crawled inside a hollow root.
when we talk about caves, I think a lot of the different like lava tubes. I think we're
Would never. Can't apply that to a lava tube. Come on, man. So some of the trip hammers. Here's, they use them, still use them because they worked then. They work now. These fine craftsmen who know how to use these tools. They still use trip hammers. This is from the 1960s. That doesn't seem that long ago. I was alive. I was alive in the 1950s. Somebody was doing all of this work at one time, and I think that's the thing. Our work today is, I worked remotely from the office. I took complaints on or something. I was on the phone. There's no more. Whoo, boy, you got to be careful, or you could take your finger off with. I'm making steel today. We learned how to do it, and these have not changed much. Notice everything again with the got to be gravity. Keep walking it down. We're going to be getting to how the Bible does talk about homosexuality. Another town that these houses were, this is, we make steel. Crucible furnace building. Big leftover parts of cast steel everywhere. And it was just one of the towns near Sheffield, England, 160. They made the finest steel in the world. Remember? I got to get back on that thing in Boston. Boston had some clean ice. They packed it in sawdust and sold it everywhere over the flat earth. Another one of the foundries they find, dig out, and go, but this one's riveted. It's got a steel, cast water well. So we could trace all of these things. There's Dr. Fauci working on how to do it because he's looking for a job now that he's been disgraced. I'm kidding. Not really. 160 make your knives, and puddling supposedly developed in the 1780s, because this is all fake history, and they need to tie it up, wrap it up, and bring it into Rasputin time in World War I and act like, well, things were weird then. Yeah, people were still Victorian, and now they went flapper, and now they're back. Now we went homosexual, and now we're trying to fight it back. Puddling, though, has been around all of that time, converting pig iron in a coal-fired reverberatory furnace. Got to convert the pig iron. It might have been Muslim or Hindu, and it needs to be converted. Just kidding. One of several processes developed in the second half of the 1700s in Great Britain, because that's the end of the golden age, and they had to relearn how to do all of these things. Abraham Darby, son of the blast furnace innovator, managed to convert pig iron in 1749. He wasn't doing anything else that day. And so maybe he lived around that place in England, and it just became famous when the iron came to nature, that is, to a pasty consistency. It was gathered into a puddle ball, shingled and rolled. This application of grooved rollers to the rolling mill to roll narrow balls with charcoal smelted, and it just greatly enhanced everything, and you can make strong screws, lathes, and well, the rest is the history that we're being sold. Puddling. You got to get it in a puddle. Supposedly those crucibles, you can only use them 2 or 3 times. I know. We want to get to the study, but how did he rule?
At the time of 1916, Grigory Rasputin became the most influential person in the country.
What is that, like 110 years ago?
Not only did he have influence over the royal family, but he also interfered in state affairs. The Russian aristocracy hated him. Many believed that he was destroying the empire.
You are
and that
destroying the
Tsar and Empress
empire.
trusted him too much. Rumors swirled around that he was working for the Germans, corrupting.
This is all part of history, man. They make the big deal. It's like, look at that. I wish I hadn't noticed that girl's mustache.
But the main acquaintance that changed his life was a meeting with the royal family. Rasputin was an ordinary peasant, had no education, did not serve in the church.
Isn't that crazy the way he ended up running Russia because this girl thought he saved this son through his, well, it was mystic seance celebrity world back then because they had the social Darwinism, they had the eugenics, they had, the Darwinism. Bible can't be true.
But managed to penetrate into the most closed family of the Russian Empire, the family of Tsar Nicholas II. The main reason why Rasputin ended up at court was Tsarevich Alexei. The only son of Nicholas II suffered from hemophilia, a severe disease because of which his blood did not clot. Any scratch could be fatal, and doctors could do nothing.
That's that same royal blood, an experiment that they tried to experiment with us. They didn't know that hemophilia skipped a generation. So the first breeding experiment of these people, like we're probably related to or something, I don't know, but I know we all have one of the 5 stages of albinism if you're a honky like me. But at least I don't have hemophilia because I get scratched all the time. Wrap it up.
The blow to the head and thrown into the icy water of the river. To this day, no one can explain exactly how Rasputin survived the poison and several shots. But there are several theories. One, the poison was too old. Perhaps the cyanide had lost its properties. Two, he was insensitive to pain, a rare phenomenon that could allow him to move even after being wounded. And the third theory, supernatural abilities. There are still people who believe that Rasputin did have mystical powers. 2 days after the murder, Rasputin's body was pulled out of the water. The autopsy showed that he died not from bullets and not from poison. He drowned. That is,
We know what drowning is. Hey, the Rephium. You ever heard of the Rephium? It means giant. And it doesn't, from Rapha, not like Nepha of the Nephilim. That means giant too. It's, it just means tall. They're considered giants. Formidable, mighty Gibbarim warriors, like David's mighty men. They all refer to them. Now, what do we know about the Rapha? We know, let's see, well, here we got a remnant. This is when we go his bedstead. I know that a lot of you people go, oh, that's Og. He had what was it, 18 cubits, 19, a big bed. He had a big bed. He probably had a big headboard on his bed. Giants, the Rephirim. So as we get into this, I want you to pay attention. We're going to pick out a couple of these things. Hey, I said hi to you the other day at 3 in the morning. For some reason, I woke up starved, Ella Rose, and I had to go get some food. I saw you made a comment. I saw later you wrote back, but for some reason, I woke up. I ate 2 tuna fish sandwiches and I went back. I've been fasting and praying a lot, and I was called to eat. But the giants that we're going to be looking at, these verses, the Raphaim, they're like the Nephilim, the Raph. I'll see it better when I can pronounce it when I see it. What do they all have in common? Well, when the people of God are blessed, they kick those giants' ass every single time. They're the giants. It's not like, oh, the giants or the Nephilim were so tough, we can't take over the promised land. There's all of the Og, the giant of Bashan, and some of them have 24 fingers and toes, 6 on each hand. It's crazy. We can't. Let's look at the verses. They line up and get their asses kicked. They're not hybrid angel demon mixes. No giants in the Bible. The scriptures are that. That's all your apocryphal nonsense. Apocryphal nonsense. They're giants. The Anakims were giants too. We'll look at verse 11 and in Deuteronomy. Oh, here's more. They got a whole bunch of them here. We just hit the giant jackpot. And it's what, the strong-armed descendants of Lot, through the incestuous relationships with those 2 daughters who got him drunk and said, we got to perpetuate your line. That's the Ammonites and the Moabites. They were the strong-armed descendants of Lot. They were there. The Emin formerly lived there, a people great and many, tall as the other giants, Anakim types. Like the Anakim, they were also counted as the word we're looking at, giant. There's a lot of this going on in the Bible. But the Moabites call them Emin. Maybe that means cousin, because you Moabite, you're a strong-armed descendant of Lot. Horites lived there, as Israel did to the land of their possession, which the Lord gave to them. They kicked them out and settled there. Now raise up, go over there and get them. For indeed, the hand of the Lord was against them to destroy them from the camp. So that's one of them. That was a good one. We can't do them all. Let's just go down to where they talk about them. Samuel 21 looks very interesting. Another one that hits 3 in a row here, 4 in a row. 4 verses, and it's another one of those Nephilim gold mines. I like this part here. The Rizpah. Then Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and spread it for herself on the rock. From the beginning of harvest until rain fell upon them from the heavens, and she did not allow the birds of the air to come upon them by day, or the beast of the field by night. When David was told that Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done, David went and took the bones of Saul and the bones of his son Jonathan from the men of Jabath Gilead, who had stolen them from the public square in Bethshan, where the Philistines had hanged them on the day the Philistines killed Saul of Gilboa. And he brought up from there the bones of Saul and the bones of his son Jonathan, and they gathered the bones of those who were hanged, and they buried the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan in the land of Benjamin and Zelah, in the tomb of Kish, his father. And they did all that the king commanded. And after that, God responded to the plea with the land. There was war again between the Philistines and Israel. This is where David got shut down from doing any more fighting lest they quenched the lamp. David went down together with his servants, and they fought against the Philistines, and David grew weary. And Ishbi-Benob, one of the descendants of the giants, whose spear weighed 300 shekels of bronze, and who was armed with a new sword, thought to kill David. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, came to his aid and attacked the Philistine and killed him. Then David's men swore to him, "You shall no longer go out with us to fight the giants, lest you quench the lamp of Israel." So this is the part of where they get in that some of these giants, these men of great stature, would have 6 fingers and 6 toes. Weird, but not sign of being bred by angels. Ella, are you there? I can't. Your microphone's not turned on. So we're going to be going on, doing our thing. Maybe she just wants to listen right there. You pop on and say something when you're ready. 6 fingers on each hand. Uh-oh. Was I really giving a care?
All right, legends, we are live. We're going to be analyzing the price of Bitcoin. This drop is coming into some major support levels, okay? And we're going to be...
Hey. Hi, Ella. Hey, do you really believe they know how to mine the Bitcoin? They go into the computers and they mine for Bitcoin, like, you know, give me the pick, I'm going to hit the wall and look, a gold nugget. Every now and then they find a Bitcoin there in the... What's up with that? But
I don't know.
And how you doing and all that?
Not bad. Did you hear about the 2 blokes that work at the Australian Tax Office were using the quantum computer they have to mine Bitcoin since 2017?
As if there is really such a thing as Bitcoin.
I don't believe there is such a thing as Bitcoin. I think it's something else.
Yeah, but they're going to act like it till the very end. They will lie to our face and say those guys, those geniuses from Australia, probably some white dudes that, you know, got some startup money in their basement.
Yeah.
They found the Bitcoin with a quantum computer.
And also Australia put one of those CERN thing devices in as well, and they've built a jab manufacturing plant at the end of that facility. So what are they doing with the quantum computer and doing with them when they're making it? What the, you know, like we got big problems here in Australia. Like Mr. Gates has been releasing mosquitoes up in North Queensland, and we've been having rain and lots of rain, and now people are getting dengue fever and crap. But we haven't had it since the 70s, you know, or the 90s. It's been cured, but now all of a sudden people are breaking out sick.
But I didn't want to, you know, Bill Gates and his mosquitoes, they're doing that like in the Panama, Florida. But the other thing with the quantum computer, I remember Noah Church was so in, they're going to be doing these quantum computing. And I looked into it and I said, wait a minute. The quantum computer has to be kept at 40 degrees Kelvin or something, whatever that is. It's like really 400 degrees below 0 Celsius. You go, okay, that's impossible. And that reminded me, Ella, what was up with those guys when the jab first came out, 2019, 2020? Wasn't there a bunch of talk that it had to be kept at 60 degrees below 0, or, you know.
They were using dry ice and transporting them by dry ice. So I've got photos and videos of Qantas unloading it, the first ones when they come to Australia. They were apparently the hotshot ones. Right. They were the ones with the snake venom, you know.
And then they showed the hospitals they were shipping it to, and, you know, and they're, you know, they had those little motel refrigerators that they were storing it in. So that's not doing good.
Like, we've got it really bad here. Like, they brought in new terrorism laws over a false flag caravan thing, right? So there was a caravan loaded with explosives, and they found out it was just a group of criminals that had been paid trying to get out of, their deeds, by dobbing someone in. It was all false flag. It's been admitted that it's a false flag, and they push these laws through, like these hate speech laws and all these kind of things through on the basis of what happened. And now, like, people are like slowly waking up going, when does it stop? Like, we've had over 2 million immigrants come into the country. We're not allowed to speak about it, right? There's two different sort of levels of in the justice system. So all of the justice system since 2017 has basically had AI run the court decisions. It's not even the judge making the decisions, it's AI. It came out not long ago that King Charles actually converted to Islam in 97, 98 when he was going over to Turkey and spending time with that Imran all the time over in Constantinople. So like Australians are slowly waking up. Like this election that's coming up, I personally can see all the Commonwealth countries suspending the elections. There's Canada going on. We got elections coming up this year, and also like Britain. Look at the way Britain is. They're talking about getting out of the UK and the US agreement, AUKUS, and like they're totally trying to screw everyone over. That's of sort of, I can't speak too much, but you know what I mean. And like they're using the tactics of divide and conquer, like they've done over in America with the immigrants.
They're using it as a divide and conquer.
Yeah. Like
they're dividing basically the average working class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Australian.
There was a Somali kid, like 21, killed the other day in Melbourne, right, with a machete. He got stabbed with a machete many times. Now, we have laws, and I remember being a teenager myself and being arrested for having a fucking carving knife on me from the meatworks, like you were not allowed to walk around with knives. So we have laws here in Australia that can deal with everything that's going on, but no, they want to bring in more laws and take away our freedoms, like... It's been said that Obama signed the Patriot Act.
Right. Because by taking the time to pass a law, wait for it, this is all becoming obvious. They're stalling.
Yeah, big time, right? So there's nothing for the election. There's no real policies or anything like that at all. They say, oh, we're going to build housing, this and that. But hang on, how can you? Like, we cannot get our own wood from the forest. We're not allowed to. We have no sawmills to cut the wood. We have no fuel places, to make the fuel. We have nothing through manufacturing because of Unidroit. Now, Unidroit was to remove 85% of the manufacturing. They've removed about 94% of the manufacturing in Australia. We are reliant on Ukraine for wood to build our houses, right?
Because Ukraine is not going to be helping the NATO very much longer.
Yeah, so
I got a bad feeling about that Vladimir Zelensky,
Well, apparently him and Putin are members of the same secret club,
Right. I'm gonna, the second half of this show, and hopefully you can stick around, is going to be about the homosexuality, and Vladimir Zelensky obviously doesn't have a problem dressing up like a homosexual on his old comedy TV show. He dressed like a girl and a homosexual all the time, and some of it was it was funny, It's funny.
Well, it's like here in Australia now. Like we used to have some really funny comedy, like Generation X made good stuff. Like there's a show called
would laugh as a kid. I would laugh my butt off. I did.
Yeah.
I was a happy
they're banning
kid
all that
for
stuff. That stuff is racist. They're banning it. Like the country has gone crazy, mate. It really has. Like there's a doctor in Sydney. She got suspended because she prescribed ivermectin to a patient. Right, the day before they brought the ban in on prescribing ivermectin. Okay, so she did not break any laws. She prescribed it the day before, and yet they come in and suspended her license indefinitely. They've banned. She's got caught this week. They've banned her from allowing access to live stream it.
Well, maybe they'll make her a prime minister someday because there's going to be some vindication
Well, she's actually from Vietnam too. Like, you know, she came over to Australia like after the war with her family and everything, you know, and she went to university to become a doctor. And, you know, in the middle age, she's getting treated like scum, you know, when she's worked so hard. She's done nothing to break the. They're trying to use her as an example, right? Because the fact of the matter is, if there was a known cure for the problem, right, they could not allow the authorization of the other. This is why they went so hard and cracked down on it.
The
Because
warp speed, it's
Yeah.
an emergency. We can't
Yeah.
do the 2 years of testing. We got to
Yeah.
do it in 6 months.
Yeah, and if you look at the 1-9 in it, that 1-9 is like 1 is A and 9 is I. So it's AI, you know, that's all what it was. And people are actually starting to wake up and go, where are the people? Like, this place should be packed, you know. And here
You
in
know what?
Australia, they're building it up by the
I'm
immigrants,
happy
and-
that you joined on, and I want to let you know that Sergio
Mm.
was mentioning Australia the other day, saying something about, you know, he was going to come on at a time where he hoped to catch the Australian crowd. And, you know, my heart's been on that too, because, you know, you are, you know, in a country that is like America, that all of a sudden there's a bunch of white people in your country. What the hell's going on? And we're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, well, people don't realize that Australia is basically does what America says. You know, like we don't we don't make our own decisions. The Prime Minister doesn't make our decisions. All the directions come from America and UN. You know, it's clear as day. They're in lockstep together. You know, it's clear as day. All the Commonwealth countries. I don't think they will. You know, I think they're just going to cause. They don't want to give it up. Do you know what I mean? America wants to bring the one world system in, and the English system wants to hold on to it.
Well,
And,
America is the patsy in this. We're the ones that, you know, supposedly got the credit. Fake. Everybody
Yeah.
knows it. That's in charge. The mafias of the world know there are no atomic weapons. They know
Yeah,
that
that's
there
it.
is no quantum physics. They know there is no 97% dark matter. They know it's all a lie. The mafias and the rulers, they know that, but they leave us fighting. Now, I want to, and I've got to move on, looking at this as a judgment. Now, this is what we're going through in the United States. Is there anything like this going on in New Zealand, Australia?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we got hit by 100 tornadoes in one day.
Yeah, Australia's getting smashed at the moment as well. China, strangely enough, right? They were up on Gardner Island, and all of a sudden this cyclone brews up and sort of follows them down the coast. And then, like, once they got past Gardner Island, a US sub started following them. But, you know, they had war games and everything out in between Australia and New Zealand. There was a missile fired onto the beach of Gold Coast here in Australia, and it was a
Crying out loud.
Did you hear about that one?
No.
Yeah, no, it was a literal missile from the Chinese practice ships. That was on the
Oh
Gold
my
Coast.
goodness.
So that was as the cyclone was hitting. This got washed up, you know. So, and then when they were over in the Atlantic Ocean, they met up with the Russians, right, and done war games over in Russia.
They, you know, I was talking to RJ today. I'm still, you know, I think, you know, we're going to have bad economy, this, that,
Yeah,
shock
totally.
after shock. We're going to be
Yeah.
made to keep waiting for more JFK files, more
Well,
Epstein files, but we're going to have your election in Australia. We're going to have those midterm elections. Those things are going to happen.
yeah, but I think something's going to happen. Like, so they'll suspend it. You know, I don't think the elections are going to go ahead. And you know, the last 300 years have proven what they do, what their plans are. You know, like, and we are so distracted, and spiritually we're not growing when we're fighting with everyone. That's what they want. They want us distracted. You know, it's bad.
Like, John is in the house.
Hey, I've been thinking about you and praying for you, John.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to finish up looking at this Google Loon.
Oh, do you remember a few years ago I made a video about that?
Right.
Do you remember when
Uh-huh.
COVID started? They started flying these loon balloons over South America, and it's all the countries where the immigrants come.
Yeah,
You know, like that.
crashing them in South America in it too. But
Yeah.
think of this, Ella Rose. Wouldn't you think that if you just put up some lights in this, you could make this look like a plasma event drone
course
type
you could.
thing?
Yep.
You know, like a star that look at it flicker. You know,
Yeah.
and I think they do flicker. I think they are plasma. But like, you know, thank you for the emphasis. This is from 2013, 2014. Who knows? I think we know what they like to improve.
I think they use it to do blue beam, to be honest. So, like when you watch those so-called rockets take off, they always have like a drone or something very close to them. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, they tracking it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I sometimes I just think they're projecting a lot of stuff to see if we believe it or not, you know.
So they promised the access area around Christchurch. They go, we got these new loon things, man. In 2013, you guys are finally going to get some broadband internet. Sign up. These people sign up. Holy moly, it's $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I like to call cost prohibitive.
They're going on about Australia's internet at the moment because it's costing billions and millions of dollars when Elon Musk can do it, right? And have it done in no time. And the government here is trying to block Elon's company from operating in Australia, believe it or not. Like they're going
Did they sell him though? Did New Zealand break their own law and for $5 million say you don't have to be somebody that owns land here for 5 years before you can buy property? They just let him come in and buy it.
Well, it's ridiculous because they basically also let the students come in, right? And once they get a degree and work here for a bit, they can like live wherever they want. That's another thing that happens. See, but there's so many restrictions on building, like permits and all this other stuff that you got to do with the council. Like you can't build a kid home like by yourself anymore, you know. And yet those kid homes that people built by themselves are still standing stronger than the shit that's being built today. The shit that's being built today, these houses are such a poor design, like they're falling apart within 12 months. It's absolutely disgusting the way these houses are being built.
What's falling apart?
Houses, like these new houses.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they got no care, no compassion in their work. They don't care. Like they get paid. That's it. Who gives a shit? Like America, I've seen it too, where inspectors are going around and they're showing all these broken things. Like you shouldn't have broken stuff in a new house. You should have a shower.
Right. I think properly. I did see that. Like the IKEA furniture was pretty good 20 years ago. Right now, it's crap. Is what I hear.
Crap.
You know.
Yeah.
So here's the new stuff. You know how come they have to use these big balloons that are because it's flat. It's not really spinning around on a ball. So they use these. You can't even tell, man. These things, you can hide them at night. They blend in the day. This is our GPS global positioning system. It's balloon world and it's gay world. I've got them burned through these and you get to the gay stuff. High altitude balloons. I think I just showed that one. Anyway, it's all because of we need this. People need to be good at this instead of weaving or making sandals out of leather, you know, like, because that's tricky, I guess. I know a guy, that's why they charge $200 for handmade leather sandals. And it's worth it if you can find a guy that's good at it. But here we go. They got all this figured out. We can't live without that, Ella Rose. This is my algorithm. I'm thinking if there's a weather thing, I'll show it for un momento. JFK files have been released. I doubt it. So here's the opinion paper. I broke down Ella Rose, subscribed to the paper, signed up for my little local Valley Courier. And these guys are all lefty people. They're giving their letters to the editor. You know, here's the thing. Science is being punished now. And this is because, they're firing people. They're going to make fun of science now. nuclear weapon development. That was either today or yesterday. Here's this guy. He's the president of my university. March 8th, so this week, 10 days ago. Last couple of months, he's been going around telling everybody, our school, our team, including this guy. Oh my goodness. I hope there's a picture of Vince. Well, this is him before he grew his hair down to his ass, braided it, and started, in my opinion, dressing like a girl. But this was probably the start of it. So he's going to help everybody. He's the guy in your opinion thing there. So you could go see him. But what he's been doing going around there is that if you live, you have a high school diploma or GED, and you have an adjusted gross income less than 70 grand, that's about everybody I know. That's about everybody I know, except the teachers around here. You can basically go to school for free, but not me. They were ready to kick me out and say that even with a scholarship and even with my retirement, I couldn't afford it. But he's going around saying anybody can do it. Just come to school and it's free. And we'll put people in charge of being gay. Did you drop off there for a second, Ella? I was not seeing it.
Yeah, it dropped out. Sorry. When you
Hopefully
first
you
started
could-
talking about that, it just cut out.
Yeah, well, it's showing a picture of the people that running this school, the basic, they're saying if you're making less than 70 grand, you can go to school here. And I'm a disabled veteran. I'm supposed to be treated special because I earned it by being a disabled veteran. But they were ready to kick me out. I wonder if I should go talk to them and say, do you know anything about what's going on in your school for real? Except in a thing, like I said, I'm dealing with Vince Alcorn, which is, this is the guy that everybody, this is Colorado. This is supposed to be, cowboys. This is supposed to be children that are raised by cowboy people on farms. And when they get here, here's the guy that they put in charge of all the people in the world. He's the guy that is going to be like, welcome to off the farm and into college. Do you need a condom? That's his job. And I'm just so sick of it, man. Because if it's not, the local newspapers, it's, this guy standing up to a bully. His thing, at the bottom of this, it'll say he was a faculty member at Adams State, but it doesn't reflect it because he's pro-gay on everything. US aid is good. Go ahead.
Did you hear what Trump said about the Australian universities? He said something about US funding to Australian universities, asking him about Confucius Center and all kinds of different stuff. It's been really pushed aside at the moment, but it's just interesting with all this shit that's going on, mate, with all this funding of these NGOs and how they've set it up, to basically just fund themselves to fund this. That's what's going on. It's these groups that are making up, NGOs to get funding and
to get the funding, to get their side of the story out.
Yeah.
But everybody in our paper, they're just convinced that, Zelensky good, Trump bad, Trump attacking our longtime allies, siding with the dictators of the world.
We got that in
our
Australia.
staff. Yeah. That's the people that work here. And the majority of the people of this town, they don't agree with the school. No. And yet the school is funded by the government,
Well, they put out, we done all these surveys and it said 58% of the country agree with, going to Ukraine and this. And it's like, hang on, you didn't ask everyone. You just asked a group of lefty people. You didn't ask a wide group of people. And, most of the country doesn't want anything to do with it and is sick of all the money going there. Do you know what I mean? And The Australian government is totally ignoring anything to do with COVID mandates, all that, all the information coming out of the overseas. They are ignoring it and still pumping people full of the shit, believe it or not. It's just amazing how many people have died. May they rest in peace. It's shocking. You should see how pro-Ukraine our Prime Minister is. He is up their ass so high, you know?
and they're going to smile, act like, it's way past toleration now. They're full. He's getting full time, so we're supposed to believe at night he writes these things out of a passion for learning and expresses his history. I think he's a PhD, a doctor of how to be a good actor. He teaches acting.
Well,
so he goes from
yeah.
1567, 1979, 402 events. It's multicultural, but what he's basically saying when he's talking about minority groups, he's talking, he's promoting DEI. Basically, saying we can't live without it. If the people are stupid, you uneducated people that don't realize without the DEI, we'd still have slaves, and it's gay.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Like, a lot of these companies here in Australia are still going on with that. And it actually breaks down the structure of the way the businesses run, the way education's run, everything. It just crashes everything. Just wait until, right? In America, the US government has been paying mortgages for people. They done that first home buyers thing, remember? Now, the US government has been paying these mortgages and delaying the foreclosure because of how many houses. There's like 1.5 million houses, right? That have basically foreclosed on it.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm agree. I'm believing you, but why are they paying 500 million?
Yeah. Why did Australia just give Ukraine another 1.5 million? They're saying we have to send peacekeeper troops over there. Now, the war, when you send peacekeepers, the war has stopped, right? You don't send peacekeepers in while they're still fighting. If you send peacekeepers in while they're still fighting and one of the peacekeepers gets shot, that means they can invoke Article 5, which means full-on war. And it's just like an agitation to keep pushing the button and get there. Do you know what I mean? And that's what's going to happen. I can see it clear as day. It's coming. They've planned it. I wonder about all these games, these war games they do. See, Australia's got one in June, July, that they Operation Talisman Sabre, and I think something might happen around then. But I also think for the last 20 years they've been filming all these operations, and they're going to make out, stuff has happened, and it'll just be edited film from old, things, and people are going to believe it. That's the sad thing. It's
all right. Now, before we get into the, what is the Blue Alliance? The idea of the gay people, what I think, put this in your cap and smoke it, or put this in your pipe and smoke it. Ella, what if these people in the last few years, because when I was little, when you were little, if you were gay, you stayed in the closet because everybody thought it was weird. No country, no government let gay people get married and stuff like that. And after World War I and after these other things, when they had their gay 90s and their gay writers, they purged them.
Yeah.
What's the odds of somebody like Rosie O'Donnell, who in her protest moved to Ireland because I can't stand Trump, now in this real world gets purged because the people in Ireland saying, we're going back to the old ways, you witch, you hag.
Yeah, though, that's what I don't understand with people. Like, they're supporting Palestine and shit, right? But they're all, the LGBT stuff, right? And it's just like, are you crazy? These guys will throw you off a building, mate. Like, they don't care about you, Like, I don't get it. Why would they do that, Yeah. And they're talking about sending peacekeeping troops to Israel, and it's all about that canal, that.
That is a bigger deal. That whatever this time of, okay, we can point the finger and say the Bible says that gay is wrong. It also says that if you're a man that acts effeminate, you're put in with cowards and murderers and have no place in heaven.
Mm.
because you're acting like a woman.
How could you be worthy? Like, how could you be
It's
trusted?
effeminate. That's the term. You know, if you're running around as a man, the Bible teaches if you're a sissy boy, you're not going to heaven because you obviously should be trying to attract a wife so you can have children.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt,
And
but there's also we got to look at it at the ways that everything, our food, the air, everything has been poisoned, and they put estrogen into the water, into the chicken, into everything. Like I was talking about this today with my son. Like my son, youngest, is hairy, covered as right, and I don't ever feed much processed food to him, and just feed natural healthy food and stuff. Whereas the other son, he still doesn't shave, and he's 25. Like, and my boy's been shaving since he was 12. And he's covered head to toe in hair, got chest hair at 17. Like that's how it used to be 30 years ago, 35 years ago. And now men, they're so. And I also wonder if it's got to do with the plastic.
your boys are at that age where they might be tempted to go to a protest or two, and I would advise them, stay away.
No, I wouldn't allow them.
Yeah,
No,
because
yeah, no,
that's where you get in trouble.
I wouldn't allow it. I'd kick their ass if they tried something like that. That ain't going to get you anywhere. It's only going to get you on a list. We're past the point of protesting. It's not going to help. So I know that. But I also wonder if it's they've done a study about a parasite, like a worm that gets into the men's butt, and that once that worm's been removed, that gayness has gone. Even the way they talk gay has gone. So there's been looking into it like a parasite that is programmed to do that, and the only way it can reproduce and live is to go up into that other thing. And they turn the host like that, like they reckon that they turn the host more feminine to attract it on the male so it can spread. Have you ever heard that? Like, it's a study that was done recently.
I think the parasite aspect, the robot aspect, the RNA
Yep. And all the
sequencing,
programming from
the
TV. Yep.
the
Music.
the reason they foreshadow zombies day and night for the last 20 years is for a reason. They're going to be changed into where they don't care and they're still hungry.
Yes. Yes.
All right,
But
let's look at a few Bible verses.
We're already past that stage, I think.
Is the slippery slope actually slippery? Egalitarians and the open-minded affirm the position. Does embracing egalitarianism does it end up endorsing homosexuality? I've read this article and they come to the conclusion that it seems like it does. If you start affirming same-sex relationships, people are going to go like, why not? Why not?
Yeah. Well, I actually noticed a change in the country when same-sex marriage went ahead. It's like the whole country within a few years had totally changed from being totally against gays and everything like that, where they'd belt them and bash them, and if they saw someone on the street dressed up, they'd flog them, to now accepting them and saying hello when they pass in the street. It's just amazing how people have been programmed, like the Ash conformity experiment. They do it through media, music, all that kind of stuff, and that's where zombies already. Like, it's not coming. We are zombies. We need to wake up and get out of it.
That's it. Yeah. And we're either going to wake up and stay awake, or we're going to just say, shrug our shoulders and say, if I work all night at the Blue Sky Mine, there'll be food on the table tonight. It's
But
day to day, mouth to mouth. That causes a lot of stress,
but
week to
you
week.
can't even live on one wage anymore. You have to have two parents working, and then you got to pay daycare, and daycare is really expensive. Like, people can't afford to live. Like, and now we've got a problem in Australia with children being abused and physically hurt, broken bones, all kinds of shit from daycares. Like, they're getting all these people in, and these people are getting frustrated with the children, and just bad, man. It's bad. There was a report on ABC Four Corners how bad it was. Just people being brought up with different
the
standards of
more
living.
things change, the more they stay the same. But
Yeah.
the idea that I think, let's see here, egalitarian interpreters, Greg Kinnear, these are the people who think they have no idea it's a flat earth. They have no idea they added 1,000 years. The golden age is past. They just think that Jesus was wrong. He didn't come back. And so the commands regarding women, that was just a first century moral thing. That wasn't anything to do with how, it says that
Correct.
although the Bible talks about people like Lydia who had a business of purple and other people that were making money, and many women helped Paul, he's going back mythically somewhere. He comes up with, the Bible presents women were largely uneducated and thought to be inferior, therefore taking it for granted. The argument goes, Paul and other writers simply accommodated to this cultural situation so as not to cause undue offense for the sake of the gospel. While at the same
Yeah, well, see,
time,
that's
they
why
knew
Paul
that they
and
would have to deal with it later. Eventually, people would realize when Jesus kept not coming back, and that they'd realize, well, now we need women pastors. And one of them in
that goes to the
the
Babylonians.
Methodist, way up there, archbishop or something, was a man who decided he needed to be a woman because that church now allowed women to preach. So he said, you know what? I've always felt like I was a woman. Let's go. So, wow.
It's the biggest blasphemy you can do to the Holy Ghost. That is so offensive. These people, that's the ego, that's the self, that's not thinking service to other, and that's going to be, you'll be up the left hand and be told to get away from God and sent to hell. You won't be getting into heaven, that's for sure.
How do you have to have a show that the Bible, seen as God's written word, is shocking to people, that homosexuality is a sin,
Yeah, but we've gotten so far away from God, the further society gets away from God, the more sin impacts society, because people don't know about the sins that they're doing. The younger generation don't know, but they're so curious now. It's amazing how many young kids are picking up the Bibles, and the parents are saying don't bother with it, and the kids are like, no, I'm going to read it from front to back, stuff you. And then these children are like, wow,
it's
so maybe
something.
those children.
It is weird that it's children. The homosexuals like little boys, and the other people like to cook and eat the little girls for their adrenochrome and things. They're doing these things, and
That's
the Bible says
biggest
it's
offense to God. Yeah,
the hearts of
it's the biggest
men.
offense they can do to God is that sacrifice.
We either have
'Cause God's
sexual
children-
immorality or we do not. The Bible teaches it. My going forward is going to be, look, we've had this since 1972, when abortion became legal, and all of a sudden it was stay out of my bedroom. So that's 1972. That's about 50 years. Everything changed from a world that, whether you served Baal or Jehovah or some of the other gods that they named, there was no and two men get married in that culture. And when it became Hindu and Confucius and Zoroastrianism, there was no, and it's okay for girls to marry girls and men to marry girls. It's all brand new. And yet we're supposed to believe now they got it figured out. The girl that was the chief of police in the Los Angeles fires, the other girl that wrecked the helicopter. Now it's coming out.
Yeah.
Oh, should we rethink this? We shouldn't
No, they
have
were
to
placed there to
rethink
do
it.
that.
We should have known that,
That was all
you
planned and
know,
part of the script to take that out, but and it's like Brisbane is got the Olympics coming and it's going to be a smart city, but Brisbane has been doing that smart city since 98 that I'm aware of. Like they've had facial recognition in the mall and on the trains and everything since 99, where it can track you from the moment you get out of your car and the train station car park, and you get in anywhere in Brisbane, it can follow you, track you, know who you are, know who you're talking to. Like people have no idea of the technology and the stuff they've been trialing here in Brisbane. And
right.
they didn't build those camps for no reason, mate. Like they're still building all of those sort of things, I showed you not long ago down the road near me. And like I want to say here, listen, that since 31 sexual assaults, this was in 24, right? Record sexual assaults reached 31-year high. The number of victim survivors of sexual assault recorded by police rose by 11% in 23, the 12th straight annual rise, according to figures released by the ABS Bureau of Statistics. They said there were 36,318 victim survivors of sexual assault recorded by police in 2023, and increased across all states and territories. Accounting for the population growth, the rate of recorded sexual assault victim survivors has gone up from 126 per 100,000 people last year to 136 victim survivors per 100,000. This is the highest rate of sexual assault victims recorded in 31-year data set. The majority of sexual assault victims were female, 84%. The most common age was between 10 and 17 years old. And at the date of the incident, 41%. More than 2 in 3 to 69% of sexual assaults took place in a residential location. Most sexual assaults, 69%, were recorded to police within a year. There's that number. They love to throw that numbers in, the 69 and all those other numbers. Family and domestic violence related sexual assaults made up almost 2 in 5, 39% of all sexual assaults reported to the police, 14,059 victim survivors. This is just like unreal. We didn't have this big problem. Now, our police, right, nothing is getting done in crime because police are
Yeah.
spending all their
What can be
shift
getting done
making up
really in their
domestic.
legal
Yep,
situation? What can be getting
yep.
done?
They're doing
Because they're
domestic.
all just doing perverted sex all the time. They show them on
Yep,
TV
that's.
shaking hands at the G8
Yep,
summits, but
yep.
it's like, look, everybody, if you're not on board with the fact that Barack Obama married a man that dresses like a woman,
Yep,
where's your brain? Are you really one of the
yep.
elect? Are you
And see,
really
we
one
had.
of, if you're still a shadow of your doubt that they haven't been forcing transsexual, that Francois Mitterrand's 80-year-old wife, and he's 57. She's still hot. She still wears her wig and her sexy boots, and she's a 80-year-old man dressed like a woman. But the world would have us believe when he fell in love with her when he was 14 and she was 39, you couldn't stop it. It was that love. But he's so smart, he's got to lead France.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. The guys that they're putting in for running the country, like that guy that's gone into Canada, right? He used to be like the thing on the Bank of England, right? The president or whatever you want, and the bank CEO. And then he was also CEO of other things, and he's pretty high up. And he is also related to Trudeau's mother through his wife.
Why not?
So
Why not?
people don't realize that, but yeah, he's related to Trudeau through his wife. And it's just unreal. Like our prime minister has gone to every gay, lesbian Mardi Gras here in Australia since it started as well. Like I just can't see what's going on in the country. Like the last few census, Australia has basically declared non-religious, right? I can see them this election coming in and taking over. They've got the numbers now. All these people that have come in, they have granted them citizenship so they can vote in the next election. Like it's going on like you guys had, where they're just flooding the borders, right, to prop it up. So
I
the
remember
GDP
when they made a
right.
big deal out of, I think it was the 1990 census, when 4,000 people in Australia claimed to be, their religion was Jedi.
Yeah, and they allowed it. Yeah, that's right. And actually, it's more now. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's just, and now since like the people tick those boxes, well, the government can come in and say, well, you're not religious, you can't disapprove this. We're going to head with it, So they basically do everything that the other group want. They're bringing in like the lockout laws in Sydney with the drinking. That was brought in the same time that they started this mass immigration program. you know, because they don't drink. They don't want people drinking. So they're changing all the laws.
Do me a
Yeah.
favor.
Mm.
Explain to people how come when I first met you, this is like 2018, the name of your channel was Earth's History is Confusing.
Yeah. No, it was 2016 we met.
Okay.
Yeah, no, 2018 is when I changed the
But I
name
remember
because
how happy
yeah,
Tommy and I were when you
yeah,
changed your name, and
yeah,
I called him up. I said Ella changed her name to from Earth's History is Confusing to
yeah,
Earth's History was confusing. It's still
yeah.
kind of confusing, but we got the big parts figured out. That Jesus was
Mate, we were,
true, and
yeah,
that time
we,
schedule was then. That was good.
we were doing so well. Like we were bouncing ideas off each other, and you know, then this evil spirit came in and just disrupted and disrailed everything. You know, just kept
Yeah, it
attack,
had
attack,
to
attack.
be.
All of us, you know, like it was like it didn't
And
want
can you
us to
believe it? It
succeed.
was all because Noah Church and Scotty and a couple other people believed Sherry when she said shockingly, Paco flirted with me.
Mm.
And then so basically they all abandoned me. Paco flirted with Sherry. No, I didn't. You know, she
I think
turned out,
also, sorry, okay.
yeah, I didn't, you know, and so I had to, but right at that time, it has to be God's will because right at that time, mentioning ivermectin and some other things got me removed. And Flat Earth Nation Golden Age Past was all of a sudden
Yeah,
there I
yeah,
was accused of being a flirt, and then my channel's gone.
yeah. No,
So
I noticed a lot of people were only hanging around for the attention to get views on their channels, right? There's a lot of people that were doing that, you know, and I'm not mentioning names. I don't have a problem with anyone, but there were a lot of people
and
that were
I was
just,
letting anybody that said they believed in Flat Earth Nation Golden Age Past come on and talk and sing, and
mm,
you know, it was just a big party.
yeah,
I thought it was going to happen then, but then
yeah.
COVID.
That spirit came in and just disrupted it all, you know.
But it's
Different.
all good now because the situation now is I have you know, dealing with, you know, get about 100 views now a day, but I'm dealing with people in classes at a university, and they know I am fighting the administration and that
Mhm.
I'm only in Alamosa because I chose it, because I'm the end time prophet, the artist called Salt Paco, that
Mhm.
dresses funny and believes the world's flat and that history is a joke and that you should be good and trust in Jesus. I have an on the ground ministry right here that is, if anything, as successful or more than the YouTube stuff, because this is where God wants it. The San Juan Mountains is going to be a place where people can live. There are
Yeah,
places
no,
in
no.
Australia that people will
But
survive. It's not
they
going to
don't want
be in
this.
Sydney. It's not going to
Yeah,
be in
no, they don't want this information
Queenstown.
getting out, but they don't want people helping themselves and learning how to do all of that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's the big thing they don't want. And see, I personally believe you have more views than what you say, because yesterday when I went to your channel to watch a video, it had like 3,000 and something comments, right? And then it flashed down to 0 comments, and then I reset it again, and it's saying like you had like 10,000 views. I'm serious. Like, I'll try and screenshot it next time it does it. But I think like the algorithm is doing it to mess with you because it knows it annoys you and that it lowers your vibration and it distracts you from concentrating on what you're supposed to be doing, and that's learning spiritually. And it's
Worked.
working. It's disrupting.
It
You know,
worked
like
because
you.
I
Yep.
was thinking, what else can I possibly be doing? But when
Yep.
I finished, you know, because I've been on this kick, I don't know if you know, Ella, but I was going on to spring break and I was caught up with my schoolwork, and I did mushrooms for 3 days in a row. And
Yep.
and I was just all about being in the spirit. And then when I
Yep.
finished my last test on Friday and I was done and I realized I had a whole week off. I slept for like 18 out of 24 hours and I woke up and God basically said, look around, you've got 5 new saws, you're working on the rocks, you have polishing machines. You came to
Yep.
this town a year and a half ago
Yep.
with a rolling
There's nothing.
suitcase.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now everything's working out. And I basically, the Spirit was telling me, I've got to feel like I'm in the valley of the shadow of death, but I don't fear any evil because I know
Mm,
it's wrong
yes.
to be gay. It's not, you can repent and be saved. It's not like it's a death killer. You are a gay person. Now you'll never be saved. That's not what the Bible teaches. Go ahead. I'm going to let you finish it up and then I'm going to get out of here.
Brother, like, I just want you to know, like, I can see how well you're doing, right? I just want you to keep going and keep your head up high because the Spirit is going to try and break you again. Your views are actually higher than what they are. Just, I reckon the moment you stop thinking about it and forget about it, it'll take off again. Like, just don't let it
Right.
eat your life. Keep going on your path that you are and keep doing the rocks and everything else because people are starting to wake up. I was looking in Antarctica the other day and it's like a dragon down there. It's got scales, it's got blood. You should really be checking out Google Earth. This creature, right? I looked at it, no shit. I felt like it was looking at me. I'm serious. I had to drop the phone and put it down. Like, this creature had wings and it had blood and shit coming out of it and scales. And I'm like, whoa, that's bad,
Yeah.
But just keep going, please, brother. Don't let it get to you. You're doing really, really well. And that's the Spirit trying to break and divide us all. Like, look what it's done. It derailed you. It derailed me and all the other people that were making videos, and we had such a high reach. We were reaching so many people, So just keep going one day at a time. You've got it.
Right. And
Can
I
say a
can't
prayer,
wait
please, bro?
till in the morning. I hope to do a video uh glorifying the Lord. But in the meantime, I want everybody to remember this is a flat earth. The golden age is past. That was because mud flood was Armageddon. And after that 1,000 years, there was a reaping that left our world almost empty again.
Yeah.
And now you're a bunch of orphan trained people shipped off around the world. And you're wondering, like, what the heck's going on? Well, no kidding. But now
Can I
you
say a
get,
prayer?
yeah, now we're telling them the veil is being lifted. The Bible's true. You should have been a woman that wanted to have children. That's the way our civilizations work. It shouldn't have been like, I want to be gay. So everything's a lie and we know it. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. We know we're called, we're chosen, we're predestined to have hit our knees and repent of our sins, knowing that there is no other way. We're never going to tell you anything else because we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame.